Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Amma ba'd. I received an email where the questioner, he says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Are the brothers at Masjid Imam Muqbil still upon the view of tasweer being haram? Not sure anymore after seeing the guests being invited and stances they hold on picture making. In response to this particular questioner, and as a clarification for anyone who has a similar question or doubt, I wanted to record this audio clarifying three matters which I see to be very important. The first matter is Shaykh Salim's view on tasweer. The second, have the brothers at Masjid Imam Muqbil changed their stance? And number three, cooperating with those from Ahlul Sunnah who allow tasweer. These three matters are very important, so we're going to clarify them in this audio, inshallah. As for the view of Shaykh Salim al-hillali, hafidhahullah ta'ala, with regards to tasweer, then this was something that was posed to Shaykh Najib al-Shar'abi. I'm going to share his answer here, translating certain parts of it because it's kind of long. So this answer that the Shaykh has given is sufficient for us, contains many benefits, and also clarifies and sheds light with regards to the view of Shaykh Salim and anyone else from Ahlul Sunnah who perhaps hold this view, allowing tasweer for the sake of da'wah. So the Shaykh, he was asked, Shaykh Salim al-Hillali, he has a group called Akademiya al-Balagh al-Mubin. This initiative was set up by Shaykh Salim al-Hillali, hafidhahullah, in order to propagate knowledge, to teach the different books in the various sciences of Islam. And with him, there are mashayikh from Yemen, mashayikh from outside of Yemen, teaching different books in different sciences. And from them, I believe, is Shaykh Salman al-Imad. Akademiya al-Balagh al-Mubin, they have a website, they have Telegram, they have WhatsApp. But in their website and in their other platforms, they don't have tasweer. These lessons are audio recorded. So the mashayikh, they will send audio recordings on the books that they are teaching, and it will be uploaded onto the channel. This is what I've seen. So the Shaykh, he interjects here, Shaykh Najib. He says there is no need for the term Akademiya, because this is the name of the project. The initiative is called Akademiya al-Balagh al-Mubin. So the Shaykh says there's no need for this term here, Akademiya, because it's not Arabic. It's not an Arabic word, academy. Academy is not Arabic word. So they should have used its Arabic equivalent, because we know that it's disliked for a person who understands Arabic to go away from the Arabic language. Rather, we should uphold the Arabic language and use it, especially when those who are running this initiative and those whom this initiative is addressed to all understand Arabic. There's no need to use other than Arabic, words that are non-Arabic. So that was a tanbih, a caution that the Shaykh mentions. Then he continues on to read the question. He says, the questioner says, one of the supervisors in the WhatsApp group, he sent a video link where we can see Shaykh Salim speaking in both audio and video form. So a link was shared onto the WhatsApp group of Shaykh Salim's delivering a lesson of some sort. So the questioner says, I advised the supervisor, and then after advising the supervisor, Shaykh Salim sent into the group the fatwa of Shaykh Ibn Baz. And then he commented on this fatwa of Shaykh Ibn Baz and said, this is a fatwa from our Shaykh Ibn Baz, may Allah have mercy on him, permitting video recording and television broadcasts for the dissemination of religious lessons and for the sake of da'wah. And he mentioned that people need this more than they do with ID cards and passports and photos and driving licenses and so on. Then Shaykh Salim clarified that the issue is fiqhi, nothing to do with aqeedah. And so it should not lead to accusations of innovation, exaggeration, or other divisions amongst students of knowledge, distracting them from their primary duties of learning, implementing knowledge, and giving da'wah. May Allah guide everyone to all that is good and unite us upon Islam and the Sunnah. This is what Shaykh Salim said. So the questioner says to Shaykh Najib, what's your guidance on this matter? Then Shaykh Najib begins to answer. He said, based on the general evidences from the Prophet ﷺ, tasweer, image making, in all its forms is prohibited, whether it be carvings, drawings, photographic images, digital images, video recording, all of it is forbidden without any exception. And he said, I've already explained this further in another audio, so refer back to it. This is point number one. The second point is that Imam Ibn Baz, rahimahullah ta'ala, initially held the view that all forms of tasweer was prohibited. He issued several fatwas to this effect, stating that all forms of tasweer is impermissible, whether by hand or otherwise. And this was his actual expression: all tasweer is evil, munkar. Then later, he made an exception for video recordings of seminars and lectures for the purpose of da'wah. However, before this, he included these forms under the prohibition. Even these ones, he used to see it to be prohibited. So we can say Shaykh Ibn Baz had two opinions. First one was that every type of picture making was prohibited. Then the second opinion was that he made an exception for tasweer of videos for the sake of lectures and propagation of lessons for the sake of da'wah. Here I'd like to mention something that Abu Fajr Hafidhahullah mentioned to me. I shared this answer of Shaykh Najib with him, and he said that this is an issue of debate, with regards to the last opinion of Shaykh Ibn Baz. What was Shaykh Ibn Baz's last opinion? What did he die upon? Because he has an extensive research on the fatwa of our scholars, the major scholars in our time, Ibn Baz, Uthaymeen and others, on this subject. It's a 3-part or 4-part series. Inshallah, I'll link it in this audio so you can listen to it. So he says this is something which is debatable because he asked Shaykh Abdul Aziz al-Rajihi, who is one of the most prominent students of Shaykh Ibn Baz, what was Shaykh Ibn Baz's last stance. And Shaykh Abdul Aziz al-Rajihi confirmed that Shaykh Ibn Baz, he died on the opinion that all types of tasweer is muharram. All types of tasweer is impermissible, including for the sake of da'wah and other than da'wah. But it seems like Shaykh Najib is not aware of this. So he's saying that Shaykh Ibn Baz has two opinions. The first one, everything was haram. The second one, he made an exception for the sake of da'wah. Then he says, Shaykh Ibn Baz, rahimahullah ta'ala, he refuted the arguments of those who permit tasweer in his book Adab al-Zifaf. Likewise, Shaykh Imam Muqbil, rahimahullah, wrote a treatise in which he refuted those who allow it, and he established that this is something which is prohibited in all its forms. And then he says, Ibn Uthaymeen, rahimahullah, initially permitted tasweer, but later he retracted this view in his well-known fatwa, in which he stated that I did not permit picture taken of any living being, human or otherwise, because the prohibition applies to pictures of living beings as is well known. And then he states that the only exception that he gave was for darura or haja, if there's a need or there is a necessity, such as ID cards, licenses and the likes. As for taking pictures for glorification, remembrance, enjoyment, or looking at them for pleasure, then he said, I did not permit this, whether it be a statue drawing, whether drawn by hand or using a device. Due to the general saying of the Prophet ﷺ, angels do not enter a house in which there is a dog or a picture. And he says, I continue to issue fatwas to this effect. Then he says, the fatwa referred to by Shaykh Salim al-hillali, waffaqahullah saddada, from Ibn Baz is, and then he quotes the actual fatwa of Shaykh Ibn Baz, where he says, in the past I had reservations about tasweer on television, broadcasting lectures and seminars. I was cautious about this and did not approve of it to go on during lectures. Then it appeared to me to allow it for the general benefit of Muslims, so they could benefit more from the lectures and seminars. So Shaykh Ibn Baz initially did not allow people to have recordings of him during his lectures and his durus. He changed his opinion. So the reason why he changed it, he explains, if it is permissible to take photos for individual benefits like ID cards, then how about for general benefits that serve a larger purpose? So he says, this strengthened my opinion to be lenient in prohibiting it and to allow recording lectures and seminars. There are other aspects of prohibition, but it seems to me that the public interest is greater and more significant than individual needs like IDs. So if you've understood his reasoning, the reasoning is he allowed lectures and durus to be recorded because this contains a greater maslaha, whereas allowing people to take individual pictures for ID cards, licenses, passports, the interest here is limited to that person. It's an individual benefit. So this was the reason given by Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala. So Shaykh Najib, he says, let's look at the evidences given by the Shaykh. Because as Ahlul Sunnah, we do not change our opinion based on a shaykh's opinion. Shaykh says this, we follow him. And the next day the shaykh says this, we follow him. This is not how it works. Rather, we go to the source upon which the shaykh based his opinion on and see which side is stronger. So he says, this was Ibn Baz's statement, may Allah have mercy on him. There is no doubt that what must be followed and adhered to is the evidence from the Quran and the Sunnah. Opposition to the evidence does not invalidate the evidence from the Quran and Sunnah. If someone opposes the evidences and holds another opinion, that does not render the evidences to be weak. This is something which is clear, no confusion. Ahlul Sunnah are in agreement concerning this, that what has to be adhered to and followed is the evidences. Even if the opposition comes from someone who is a great scholar, even if the opposition be from Abu Bakr and Umar, may Allah be pleased with them. Whose opinion do we follow? Abu Bakr and Umar, whose opinion is in opposition to the evidences, or do we stick to the evidences? Of course, we stick to the evidences. So he says, let's analyze the evidences from Shaykh Ibn Baz in his old opinion and his later opinion. So in the old opinion, he made all tasweer to be prohibited based on the general evidences which do not give any exceptions, except for the darura, compulsion. We are forced to take pictures for passports. We are forced to use pictures with regards to the money that we have, the currencies, they have pictures. This is a type of ikrah. Ikrah and darura and haja, these are the examples where we can say they are exceptions. As for other than this, then there is no exception. So that was his first opinion. So the Shaykh says his first opinion was sound, is based upon strong evidences. As for the amendment in his second opinion, that tweak in his fatwa in the second opinion, what was that based on? Was that based on evidences? The Shaykh says no, it was not based on evidences. Rather, it was based on an incorrect analogy. He used analogy to allow tasweer of muhadarat and durus. How so? The analogy that the Shaykh used was, he said, if we are going to allow people to take pictures of themselves in terms of passports, driving license, ID, and so on, and that's a individual benefit, then it goes without saying that we should allow durus to be recorded and disseminated and lectures to be recorded and disseminated, because the maslaha here is general, is for the whole ummah. This was the analogy used. But the Shaykh Najib, he says this analogy is wrong. This is a flawed analogy. Why? Because the ID photos are taken due to necessity and compulsion. A person is forced to take those pictures. The government is not going to allow you to travel without a passport. You can't drive without a driving license. Otherwise, you're going to be imprisoned and so on. So these are things which a person has to do because of the pressure applied upon him by the governments and due to compulsion and necessity. Whereas recording seminars and lectures, is there a necessity there? Is someone forcing you? Is there ikrah? No, this is something that you've voluntarily done yourself. So he says, we can't do qiyas here. We're saying this is a general benefit and this is a individual benefit. Okay, but this individual benefit was not something that a person did willingly. Rather, it was forced. He was forced to do this. Something that has been enforced upon the citizens. So we can't do qiyas here. So he's saying that the second opinion, it was based upon this flawed qiyas. So he has no evidence for the second opinion, which is why the first opinion of the Shaykh is stronger, which is why we should adhere to that opinion and take that opinion and not the second opinion, because the second opinion was based on a flawed analogy and a weak argument. Hence, the fatwa attributed to Ibn Baz is not based on evidence. It's not based on evidence. We are required to follow the evidence, not the opinion of any particular person. The analogy used by Ibn Baz, may Allah have mercy, is flawed and not accurate. Tayyib. Then the Shaykh, he goes on to say that it's not necessary for us to record, and it's not a necessity for us to record people and take their pictures and video recordings of them in order to disseminate knowledge, because it's possible to record these seminars and lectures in audio form and broadcast them amongst the people, achieving the same intended benefit. Then he says, by Allah, what is the difference between a video clip of Shaykh Salim al-Hillali, for example, and the same clip in audio form without his picture? Does the picture provide more benefit, or is it the same? If Shaykh Salim was to deliver a lecture and we recorded the lecture in video form, and we recorded the lecture in audio form, and we had two people listen to the same lecture, both of them would come out from listening to the audio and watching the video with the same information. Because the main thing is listening to the fatwas and listening to what he has to say. As for seeing him, is this person going to gain some additional knowledge? Does he gain any additional knowledge? No, he doesn't gain any additional knowledge. Rather this is an act of sin, act of disobedience. Tasweer is prohibited. Imam Ibn Baz, may Allah have mercy, and Imam Ibn Uthaymeen, the majority of the ilm and the benefits that the ummah has benefited from these two great scholars, these benefits spread through what? Through videos or other than videos? Through other means, audio fatwas, writings. These are the main source of benefit from these two great scholars. Imam al-Bani likewise, may Allah have mercy on him, he has hundreds of tapes in his series. In fact, Shaykh Salim al-hillali in one of his lectures that he gave to us, he says he has 5,000 recordings and each one is like an hour long. So Shaykh Salim al-hillali himself, he mentions to us that listen to his lectures. That's Shaykh al-Bani alone, let alone Shaykh Uthaymeen and Shaykh Ibn Baz. And he mentioned this in order for us not to go to listen to those people who we are unaware of. And you have enough knowledge with these great scholars, go back to the audios. This is what Shaykh Salim said, hafidhahullah ta'ala. So the Shaykh, he continues that he has hundreds in tapes in his series, the Sisa al-Huda al-Nur, which Allah benefited people through. And his books have filled the corners of the earth. It is rare to find an Islamic library that contains beneficial books on the face of the earth, except that there is a book from the books of Shaykh al-Bani in this library. And Allah granted benefit through him, through these means of audios and writing books, without him using any photography, without him using any tasweer. Likewise, Imam al-Wadi'i, may Allah have mercy upon him, people traveled to him in this era more so than to any other scholar. And Allah benefited through him, through his da'wah, through his students, through his books. And these benefits spread through what? Through videos or through a means other than videos? The Shaykh answers, of course, through means other than videos, because the Shaykh never took pictures of himself, never did videography. Rather, the benefit and the knowledge spread far and wide through usages which were legislated by the Sharia. Audios, students traveling to other lands, writings, and so on. Likewise, he gives the example of our Shaykh Hafidhahullah, who people still travel to him. His students, after traveling to him, they go out back to their countries or other places and spread this knowledge. All of this indicates that there's no need, and it's not a necessity for us to use tasweer to spread. And he said the Salaf